Committee will come to order. All I was waiting for was a quorum. And now that Senator Peterson is here, we can get started. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll so we can see if we have a quorum?
You have a quorum, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I just want to explain to you how this is going to process this morning. All the bills that are identical to Senate bills, we're going to get those in a block. And I know it's going to be an inconvenience to some of you as I go through this docket, but if a member comes up and you have a bill that's in one block, I'm going to require that you stay in the block as we consider these bills because it's going to facilitate a better flow for how we get out of here this morning. I do not want to be here up against noon today. And so with that, I first want to take House Bill 75, Delegate Corey, and that's going to be referred to Commerce and Labor. House Bill 799, Delegate Ask. Oh, God, that's what I need to vote on each one of those separate, not in the block. So House Bill 75 for Corey, Commerce and Labor, all vote to refer that.
Yeas 9, nays 0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And then the next bill is House Bill 799, Delegate Askew, and that's going to go to Rehabilitation and Social Services. And can I get a motion on that one? Okay. Electronic vote.
Yeas 10, nays 0.
Yeas 10, nays 0. That bill is referred. And the next bill is House Bill 1025, Delegate Adams. And that bill will also be referred to Rehabilitation and Social Services. Can I get a motion? Okay, there you go. We got it. Madam Clerk?
Yeas 10, nays 0.
Yeas 10, nays 0, and that means House Bill 1025 is also referred. The next two bills pretty much flew out of the House committee, so it's going to be House Bill 887, and that's Speaker Fillicorn, and I'd like to have a motion on that one. Yes, to report.
I move to report. Second.
It's been moved and second that House Bill 887 be reported and referred to Finance. All in favor, please designate electronically. Next bill is House Bill, I'm sorry, Madam Clerk.
Yeas 12, nays 0.
Yeas 12, nays 0. The bill is reported. The next bill is House Bill 1013, and that's Delegate Herring. May I have a motion, please? And Senator Howe's second. House Bill 1013 has been recommended for reporting. Please designate your preference on the electronic voting board. Madam Clerk?
Yeas 12, nays 0.
Yeas 12, nays 0, and that bill is also reported. The next bills we're going to consider in a block. I will call out those numbers. House Bill 351, Delegate Bell. House Bill 368, Delegate Carol Foy. House Bill 902, Delegate Sickles. House Bill 1452, Delegate Hope. House Bill 1453, Delegate Hope. House Bill 1660, Delegate Carr, and House Bill 1701, Delegate Tran. And I'd like to get those bills considered to be reported in a block. It's been moved and second that those bills pass in a block. All in favor of the motion, please designate electronically.
Yeas 13, nays 0.
Yeas 13, nays 0. The bills in the block pass. There is one identical bill, and Madam Attorney will share that right now.
Madam Chair, the other identical bill is House Bill 180, carried by Delegate Levine. It was identical to Senate Bill 62, carried by Senators Suderline and Eben. And it passed out of the Judiciary Committee 14-0 and out of the Senate 40-0.
Very well. May I please get, it's been moved and properly second that the bill be reported. All in favor, please designate electronically. Madam Clerk?
Yeas 15, nays 0.
Yeas 15, nays 0. The bill is reported. We have similar bills, and the first bill up is House Bill 879, and that's Delegate Sickles. If he's here, we'd like to take you first, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My House bill is identical to Senator Barker's SB 764, except with an enactment clause at the end. It is a comprehensive COPN bill that accomplishes the following: immediately implements needed improvements to the COPN review process, including reducing the length of time for review and overhaul of the state health services plan, eliminates COPN review of certain services recommended by the Department of Health, develops a new analytical framework to look at additional reforms to COPN going forward, strengthens the commissioner's ability to condition certificates on provision of charity care, as well as participation in Medicare and Medicaid, and require development and implementation of financial assistance policy. The change in the enactment clause lowered the cost of it. We passed it in our budget, but not at the original cost of the enactment clause. I think Senator Barker understands this. The enactment clause took some of the cost out of it in the first couple of years, on part of the technology upgrades that would be needed to do this. We thought they couldn't get it done in time. So it would be, if you pass Senator Barker's bill or lay mine on top of his, we can work that out in either in
Senator
conference
Barker.
or
Yes, Madam Chair. Certainly, Delegate Sickles and I have been working together on this. This has been a process over several years, so to get consensus in terms of moving forward with these reforms to the Certificate of Public Need program. We got a couple of technical amendments we're going to have to work out in conference. So what I would do is move that we conform Delegate Sickles' bill to our bill in the Senate and move forward from there.
It's been moved and properly second that the bill be conformed. All in favor say, voice vote, all in favor say aye. Aye. Noes have the same right. The bill is reformed. Now I need a motion for the bill to be reported. Senator Sasslaw moved. Yes. Senator Sasslaw moved, and Senator Howard, Chair of Finance, who's requested the bill, seconds that the bill be reported and referred to Finance.
Yeas 8, nays 6.
thank you, Madam Chair. I have two other bills.
Yeas 8, nays 6.
Sorry.
On Delegate Sickles, you may not have been here when I made the statement, but in order for us to facilitate flow, we're going to stay with each of these in the group. So I'm sorry to inconvenience you, but we want you to hold on for just
Well,
a
I'd
few
love to
minutes.
come back.
Oh, please, you can. We'll call you.
Great. I got a lot of work to do. So.
We'll have someone call you. Next bill is House Bill 980, and that's Delegate Herring.
Good morning, Madam Chair
Good morning.
and committee. This is HB 980. There is a substitute.
Madam Attorney,
My bill is almost identical to Senator McClellan's SB 733, which was already reported out by the committee. Both bills lift medically unnecessary restrictions on first trimester abortion. My substitute, and it makes my bill identical to Senator McClellan's. We will remove, in this substitute, physician assistants.
can you hold a second until after we've gotten the substitute distributed so I can get a motion on the substitute?
I move the substitute be adopted.
It's been moved and seconded that the substitute be adopted. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed? Delegate Herring.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With the substitute now, only nurse practitioners are included. The Senate bill will also be amended to match my bill. There was just a drafting error, and that's the bill But if you want me to go through the merits of the bill, Madam Chair.
Probably not. Any questions of the members of the committee? Questions by any member of the committee?
Madam Chair,
Senator Peterson.
so this basically is what we voted out of the Senate as Senator McCollum's bill?
That is correct,
Word
Senator.
for word?
Yes, except, yes, actually, yes,
Yes.
yes,
Thank you.
yes.
It's been moved and second that House Bill 980 be reported. All in favor, please so designate electronically. Madam Clerk?
Yeas 9, nays 6.
Yeas 9, nays 6. The bill is reported.
Thank you, Madam Chair. and
You're very
committee.
welcome.
Thank you.
Madam Chair? Madam Chair?
Senator Edwards?
Yeah, having voted on the prevailing side of House Bill 879, I move that we reconsider that vote.
For reconsideration. All in favor of reconsideration, please say aye or vote electronically. The bill is reconsidered. Senator Edwards?
Okay? I'm voting no, so somebody wants to move it be if
It's
somebody
been moved and
wants to.
properly second that the bill be reported.
Reported and re-referred to finance, so.
Yes, it has been moved and second that the bill be reported and re-referred to finance. All in favor or opposed, vote electronically. Madam Clerk?
Chafin?
Yeas 7, nays 8.
Yeas 7, nays 8, the bill is defeated. No. We're gonna suspend on that strike the vote. We're gonna suspend on House Bill 879, and will somebody please call Delegate Sickles back to the committee room?
I'm against this.
I don't know, Chafin, I told you. Yeah, so I don't know whether he switched in. Yeah, what happened?
Okay.
Yeah, it was 96. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Well, we've got quite a bit of work yet to do, and so what, we'll go back to Delegate Sickles as soon as he returns, and so I'm in the, oh, here he is, okay. Delegate Sickles.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Senator Edwards moved, reconsider the bill, and the vote flipped. And so we just need you to speak to it again, have people ask their questions. We struck the vote, and so we want to return to your bill. House Bill 879.
My aide took my notes, but
That's our Senator, we have Senator
but
Barker here.
Senator Edwards, this bill is almost identical to Senator Barker's bill. In the budget, in our budget, we did strike one of the enactment clauses that reduced the cost a little bit, but this is a administrative rehab of the COPN process to try to make things more efficient as we go. It takes out some categories of COPN review, and it requires the state facilities plan, although they're called the health services plan now, to be done every 2 years. So right now, our state facilities plan is over 10 years old, and that's what they base their decisions on. And so we have some more people in the budget to help in the health department to get these applications decided more quickly, one way or the other. And Senator Barker can add anything.
Madam Chair?
Senator Barker.
Yeah, just to add, I mean, this bill basically is a result of a stakeholder group that met a few years ago and worked on things and reached consensus on all these issues. So this is a bill that everybody agrees in terms of what's in there. There were some people who wanted to go further than this, but this is what everybody agreed to. And we did have consensus in the stakeholder group from all parties to these items, both in terms of the process and also in terms of reducing the number of services that are covered that require a certificate of public need.
Yeah. Madam Chair, this bill was, we called it in the House the Stolly bill for years, and
Yes.
Right.
we would get it out of the HWI, and it would be somehow not get out of appropriations after that. And I think the reason was the people who want really dramatic reform thought it didn't do enough, and they thought that people who wanted the status quo thought this was kind of a status quo business bill. But I argued unsuccessfully then that we really need to do this stuff if we're going to move forward. If we want to have
Exactly.
reform, we really need to do this kind of thing. So that's why I hope you'll pass the bill.
Most of us understand, yes.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Senator Suderline, and then Senator, let me go to my queue.
I think I
Senator
have
Suderline, Donovan, and
an
Sasslaw.
amendment that might be able to get it out of here today.
Okay.
And I'd like, I think council said they could draw it up in concept. And what it would be is we'd be adding something that the Senate approved on a 35-4 vote. And it would be the provisions of Senate Bill 1081 regarding a neonatal intensive care unit in Planning District 5.
I'll second that.
I think that, as I noticed the margins on the vote, I think that might help this bill move along.
I would second that motion.
Senator Howell.
I just point out, it will also cost votes.
So I think,
Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I just wanted to have an opportunity to respond to my dear friend Senator Barker's comments. There is not consensus on this bill. There is consensus on this bill if it indeed includes other opportunities for free market competition, but not this bill as a standalone. And so there is not consensus with all the stakeholders on this bill, and passing this bill makes it less possible that we can have better improvements going forward, and that's why I continue to not support this bill. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, I have not heard anybody speak against the bill. Maybe there are people out there in the world who don't like this bill, but they really didn't come forward with any strong opposition. It came out of the House on a strong vote. And I know there's people who want more. The fight is really over diagnostic machines and ambulatory surgery centers, and that is not resolved in this bill. And I also think that the NICU is a regular down in Roanoke County is an annual process. They I understand they were just denied again because there is a NICU that's not really fully used 8 miles away. So I think a lot of people would argue that the bill is the law is working as intended.
Okay, in queue, I have Senator Peterson, Newman, Sasslaw. Are you in here?
Delegate Sickles, and I appreciate you're trying to strike a fine line here. This bill came through the Senate on a 20-19 vote. So
Okay.
we've been divided, and I'm one of the people that thinks the COPN process is outdated and needs to be phased out. And I'm afraid if we pass this bill, we're frankly memorializing a system which needs to go. So there's just a philosophical, I understand what you're trying to do, but again, understand that this was a very contentious issue a few weeks ago, so it's nothing against this bill per se, it's just that this was a close vote to begin with.
Yeah, Madam
Okay.
Chair, the system is broken. The system is absolutely broken, and I'm not sure it can be fixed. It's time to phase it out totally. That's my position.
Well, if you want to phase it out, this bill would not, I guess, if you want a system that's not working as well as it should, and you want it to make it work less well, don't vote for the bill. But this bill is intended to make the process that we have work better. That's it. That's why it's not that, I didn't know it was controversial over here. I mean, that reminds me that people who campaign against government and then come to get elected and make government not work instead of government work. We're trying to make government work here. There's a handful of people in the Department of Health that handle all these permits across the state, these COPNs across the state, and this bill bulks up their staff so they can be more responsive to the public and not have any delays in this, in what we're doing in the process. So, I mean, that's what it does, and if you want it to go away, I mean, I think it's really undermining the cause of, good government.
Some of us agree with you, but I want to hear from other members of the committee. And I don't know who's in queue now. If you're not in queue, please turn your light off, because Senator Suline, are you still in queue?
I'll allow some other folks
Senator
to speak
Newman.
first.
Madam Chair, I think what we're debating is a motion and a second to add the NICU in Roanoke. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Madam Chair,
Senator Newman.
I think it's critical that we add this to it, and let me tell you why, Delegate Sickles. That process, what happened in Roanoke, screams that the system is so broken that it's got to be reformed. Get this, the staff said do it. The local hospital didn't oppose. We have records of babies being injured because, and still, we killed the bill. So when you think about Senator Edwards and Senator Sudeline, it's not trivial, it's
Okay.
not small. I think this is a critical thing to add to your reform bill. I honestly don't think your bill goes nearly far enough. I'm one of those guys, right? But I think that the motion that is before us today, one, probably gets your bill out of this committee as opposed to not, right? But number two, it is absolutely the right thing to do. And I would hope that if this sends us to conference at some point, that, I know you'll be there, but we'll have some people to have a serious discussion about what seriously went wrong with the commission.
Okay.
Not in Roanoke, but the commission on this particular matter. So thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome, Senator Newman. Senator Saslaw, did you have further questions? Senator Barker.
Let's just vote.
Speak.
Madam, till we've acted on the amendment, the comment, so.
Vote on the amendment.
Okay, you heard the motion first and the second on adding the NICU to the bill. All in favor of that amendment, please designate on the electronic voting board. Pat. Let's do a voice vote. All in favor, aye. Those opposed, no. Aye. Those opposed?
No. Put it on the board.
Electronic voting board.
Okay.
Kind of thought that.
You ready?
Yes, ma'am. Madam Clerk?
Yeas 8, nays 7.
Yeas 8, nays 7. The amendment is agreed to.
Move to report.
And refer to finance.
Yeah. If there's a motion to report it with the substitute, all in favor of that motion, please designate electronically.
Okay.
All right.
It's good.
Yeas
come
7,
on.
nays 7, abstentions 1.
That motion is defeated.
Madam Chair,
Senator Peterson?
having voted, well, I don't know if I voted on the prevailing side. I abstained. Reconsider.
There you go.
I'm sorry, Senator Cosgrove.
This takes a unanimous vote.
Thank you.
Done? Okay.
Excuse me, I'm trying to speak here, all right? Having voted on the prevailing side where we did not pass HB 879 in the substitute, I move that we reconsider that vote.
You've heard the motion for reconsideration. All in favor of reconsideration, please designate
Please vote
electronically.
aye.
All right. I'm not taking chances on your voices anymore. Vote electronically.
You got to vote.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
Yeas 15, nays 0. Reconsideration. Can I get a motion on the bill, please?
Do it for George.
You don't want it in finance?
Yeah, she does.
She voted no.
Move to report
Doesn't want it,
and
period. Huh?
Senator Barker, was that a report?
Report, we refer to, as amended, and we refer to finance, so.
The motion is to report the bill and we refer it to finance. I don't have a second. It's been second. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically.
Yeah.
The bill is reported. He's gonna abstain.
Thank you.
The bill is reported and will be referred to.
Yeas
Senate
9,
Finance.
nays 5.
Thank you very much.
Yeas 9, nays 5. The bill is reported as amended and will be referred to finance.
Do you want to
Thank
do my chiropractor bill now? While I'm here.
I wish, you know what, you've gone through so much, yes, go right ahead.
Okay. I got, it's a,
Patty,
HB
we're gonna go
385,
through his- Which one is that?
385.
385.
It,
We're gonna let you get out of here so you can stay out
okay.
for today.
Right. This bill has been worked out between the chiropractors and the medical society. It provides clarification regarding medical records of doctors of chiropractic. It is needed to, there's different interpretation from an AG opinion 36 years ago, and the amendment on line 96, delete diagnosis and insert examination evaluation. And I don't know if there's the chiropractors that are in the room right now to speak to it, but it was a, I don't think there was any opposition to it in the House.
This bill went through health professions, and so if the bill has been heard in my subcommittee, we're not gonna take testimony today.
Okay. But can you vote on it?
Yes, sir. We can't do that.
Okay.
If there's no questions from the committee, I'd like to entertain a
I move to report.
Thank you.
It's been moved and seconded that House Bill 385 be reported. All in favor, please designate electronically.
Thank you so much. This has been so much fun, too.
Well, you caused me to
Yeas
change
15,
my,
nays 0.
it's yeas 15, nays 0, the bill is reported. I deviated from from my script because of what you had to go through on the other bill. Back to normal, okay? Bills in public education, House Bill 270, Delegate Van Valkenburg.
Hello, Madam Chair, members
Good
of the
morning.
committee. Which one are we?
I think you might do better if I go through the subcommittee report first. You may not have to do anything. How about that? Subcommittee on Public Education, Senator Hashmi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Our first bill from the Public Education Subcommittee report is HB 270, patroned by Delegate Van Valkenburg. And this is with regard to public schools lockdown drills, requiring that public schools provide parents of enrolled students with at least 24 hours notice before a school conducts any lockdown drill. And this reported out of our subcommittee with a vote of 5-0, and I so move.
It's been moved and second that House Bill 270 be reported. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically. Madam Clerk.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
Yeas 15, nays 0, the bill is reported. You're welcome.
Our next bill is House Bill 308, patroned by Delegate Hope. And we have an amendment. I move the amendment. It is simply striking the date August 1st and inserting December 31st. I move the amendment.
There's been a motion and a second to agree to the amendment. All in favor, please just vote aye or nay. Aye. And the motion?
And House Bill 308 requires that the Department of Education establish and distribute to each school board no later than December 31st 2020 guidelines for granting of excused absences to students who are absent from school due to mental or behavioral health issues, and requires that any student who is absent from school due to their health issues be granted an excused absence. It reported out of our subcommittee with the amendment with a vote of 5-0, and I so move.
It's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported as amended. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically. Madam Clerk?
Yeas 15, nays 0.
Yeas 15, nays 0. The bill is reported. Senator Hashmi?
House Bill 392, patroned by Delegate Ward, prohibits each school board from employing any individual who has been convicted of a violent felony set forth in the definition of the barrier crime in the subsection of the Code of Virginia of any offense involving the sexual molestation, physical or sexual abuse, or rape of a child. And it also permits each school board to employ any individual who's been convicted of a felony or crime of moral turpitude that is not set forth in the definition of barrier crime in that subsection, and that does not involve the sexual molestation, physical or sexual abuse, or rape of a child, provided that in that case of a felony conviction, such individual has had his civil rights restored by the governor. This bill passed out of our subcommittee on a vote of 5-0, and I so move.
Madam Chair.
There's a motion and a second that House Bill 392 be reported.
Madam Chair.
Oh, I'm sorry, Senator Peterson, I didn't see you in queue.
And I see the delegate here, so I'll ask a question. It says such individual had his civil rights restored by the governor. We've had bills and constitutional amendments to have automatic restoration. For example, the right to vote, automatic restoration of civil rights. If it says it's restored by the governor, that would be different, though.
Correct.
So can you walk me through that distinction?
As I appreciate Delegate Ward's bill, once again, Delegate Ward's bill that I'm standing in for.
I apologize, all right. But it
long-
looks like you're speaking for her.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I have her notes.
All right.
Yeah, this is to deal with a shortage in terms of people who could serve on the school board based on the law, but they couldn't serve as employees of that school board. So the whole notion behind this is that if they've gone through the process, if they've and more instances than not, this is someone who had some and remember there's some restrictions that are not permitted. It cannot be a person who has engaged in sexual violence or untoward actions towards individuals.
My question is very precise. I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
Senator Peterson?
My question is very precise, and that is, if we ever have automatic restoration of civil rights, then
this would not apply. This says that someone has actually gone through the steps, through the Secretary of the Commonwealth, had the governor's review, and been in that instance given that privilege.
Madam Chair, is this with regard?
Senator Edwards, I'm going to require that you push your light. I cannot distinguish voices. I can only respond to who's in queue. Senator Edwards.
Mr. Chair, Madam Chair, does this apply to a specific situation?
As I appreciate it, there is a significant need for more persons to be hired in the Hampton school system, and that request has been made by that system.
Okay, thanks.
We operate by motion? There's already been a motion? It has been moved and second that House Bill 392 be reported. All in favor?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee.
Have a good day, Delegate Lindsay.
Well, I've got mine, but I'm going to sit back down till you call.
I understand. Madam Clerk. Okay. Senator Hashmi.
House Bill 402, patroned by Delegate Keem, and I believe the delegate has a amendment he'd like to recommend.
Thank you, Madam Chair and
Delegate
Madam
King.
Chair. First, I apologize that I didn't bring this up at the subcommittee, but we just learned last night from one of our advocacy organizations that I think this is just an error on my part when I drafted this. This bill deals with lockdowns and try to be customizing our lockdowns so that the younger children don't necessarily have to have as many. The problem was that when we drafted this, we talked about kindergartens being exempt from certain ones. Obviously, we have schools that have pre-K as well as kindergarten, so we wanted to include the language of pre-kindergarten anytime we reference kindergarten, so we treat the pre-Ks and the kindergartens in the same way. So there are 4 line amendments that would just make that error. And again,
Can
I
I have a
apologize I didn't bring
motion
this up
on the-
earlier.
It has been moved and second that the amendment be adopted. All in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, nay.
Thank you.
Senator Hashmi?
So as Delegate Keem just explained, HB 402 requires that every public school hold at least 1 lockdown drill after the first 60 days, and in addition to 2 lockdown drills required to be held in the first 20 days of the school session of each school, at each school. The current law that we have in place requires that each public school hold at least 2 lockdown drills after the first 20 days of school session. And this bill also requires that pre-K and kindergarten students now be exempt from mandatory participation in lockdown drills during the first 60 days of the school session, and requires that the principal will implement exemptions by conducting teacher-only drills and notifying parents of kindergarten and pre-K students at least 5 days in advance. It was recommended out of subcommittee on a vote of 5-0, and I so move with the amendment.
It's been moved in second, and I have Senator Sassel, are you in queue?
Mark, out of
Yes, sir.
curiosity,
Sure.
exactly say an elementary school, what does a lockdown drill consist of? Anybody know?
Madam Chair, I'd answer Senator Sasslaw by telling you that I believe right now the drill is done at the school level, and
Right.
you know, they come in, they do a practice drill to say that there's an active shooter. I believe that, and I'm sure others that actually do this program can tell you in person what they've experienced, but one of the concerns that we have is that it's done in an intense way in the very beginning of school. So before the kids get adjusted to the schools, they're having to go through these drills, and so we're trying to reduce the number of those drills that happen.
What do they do?
Can I have somebody in the classroom to explain that? Because I've actually never gone through one myself, so I couldn't tell you how it goes. Do you want to talk about it?
Madam Chair, Kathy Bircher with the Virginia Education Association. To answer the Senator's question, having been through one with first graders, you get specific directions from your school division leadership. Typically, you get the email saying this is the day it's going to happen. You are directed to bring all of your students to a corner least visible. So we kind of pile on top of each other. You ensure you close all windows, blinds, shades. If there are windows next to your classroom door, you have to cover those. You keep the children silent as best you can until such time that you get the all clear memo from the office. And that's the experience I have had when I was in the classroom.
The reason I asked, Madam Chairman, is I and a couple people in here were of the generation where the alarm would go off and you practice for a nuclear attack, and you get under your desk. Like getting under your desk really was going to really much matter in a all-out nuclear war.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you for that history lesson, Senator Sasslau.
Wasn't going to say anything.
We have a motion on the floor. All in favor of, as amended, please vote aye. Madam Clerk.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
Yeas 15, nays 0. The bill is
Thank you very much,
reported.
Madam Clerk.
You're very welcome. Senator Hashmi.
The next bill is House Bill 410, patroned by Delegate Delaney, and this is with regard to parental notice, requiring each local school board to enact a policy to require that timely written notification is provided to the parents of any student who undergoes literacy and response to intervention screening and services, or does not meet the benchmark on any assessment that's used to determine at-risk learners in the preschool through grade 12, which notification shall include all assessment scores and subscores. This passed out of our subcommittee on a vote of 5-0, and I so move.
We have a motion and a second that House Bill 410 be agreed to. All in favor? Reporting.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
Yeas 15, nays 0. The bill is reported. Senator Hashmi.
House Bill 415, again patroned by Delegate Delaney, is with regard to suspension issues. It requires school boards to adopt policies and procedures to ensure that suspended students are able to access and complete their graded work during and after the suspension. This reported out of our subcommittee on a vote of 5-0, and I so move.
It's been moved in second that the bill be reported. All in favor, please designate electronically.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
Yeas 15, nays 0. The bill is reported. Senator Hashmi.
House Bill 501, patroned by Delegate Krizek, is with regard to permitting each school board to designate another entity or individual to participate on its behalf in the annual review of its written school crisis, emergency management, and medical emergency response plan. This reported out of subcommittee on a vote of 5-0, and I so move.
You hear the motion? Second, that the bill be reported. All in favor? Madam Clerk?
Yeas 15, nays 0.
Yeas 15, nays 0. The bill is reported. Senator Hashmi.
House Bill 753, patroned by Delegate Rasool, is requiring the Department of Education to establish a uniform definition of social emotional learning and develop guidance standards for social emotional learning for all public students in grades K through 12, and also to make such standards available at each local school division no later than July 1 of 2021, and also to issue a report no later than November 1 of 2021 on the resources that are needed to successfully support local school divisions with the implementation of their program. This reported out of subcommittee on a vote of 4-1, and I so move.
It's been moved and second that the bill be reported. All in favor, please so designate electronically.
Yeas 14, nays 1.
Yeas 14, nays 1. The bill is reported. Senator Hashmi.
House Bill 817, patroned by Delegate Hope, requires that the DOE, in collaboration with the Department of Health and Medical Professional Societies, develop and implement health and safety best practice guidelines for the use of digital devices in public schools no later than the school year 2021 through 2022, reported out of our subcommittee on a vote of 4-1, and I so move. I'm sorry, there was an amendment. Let me see. I moved the amendment first. It was to implement, strike the word implement and insert distribute, and also, again, in line 12, strike the word implement and distribute.
You've heard the line amendments. All in favor of those amendments, please say, this is going to be a voice vote, aye or nay, yea or nay. Aye.
Aye.
Senator Hashmi.
I recommend reporting the bill with the amendment.
You've heard the motion that the bill be reported as amended. All in favor of reporting the bill, please designate electronically. Madam Clerk.
Yeas 9, nays 5, abstentions 1.
Yeas 9, nays 5, abstention 1. The bill is reported. Senator Hashmi.
House Bill 836, patroned by Delegate Carol Foy, requires the DOE to develop a plan to adopt and implement standards for micro-credentials that can be used towards add-on endorsements and renewal of licenses earned by Virginia license holders in science, technology, engineering, and math or STEM fields. This bill requires that such a plan include a process for reviewing and administering educator micro-credentials, assurances that educator micro-credentials rely upon demonstrable evidence from the submission of artifacts such as school projects and teacher lesson plans, and that these be also objectively scored, and assurances that the educator micro-credentials focus on interrelated competencies leading to logical teacher professional development pathways. This bill is really geared towards expanding our opportunity to hire more educators that are able to teach in these professions because we are currently facing a shortage. And it passed out of committee on a vote of 5-0, and I so move.
It's been moved and second that the bill be reported. All in favor? Madam Clerk?
Yeas 15, nays 0.
Yeas 15, nays 0, the bill is reported. Senator Heisman, you had quite a calendar.
We had a busy day. Is my microphone still working?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. House Bill 928, patroned by Delegate Coiner, it seeks to permit that Chesterfield County School Board establish a recovery high school in the school division as a year-round high school for which enrollment is open for any high school student who resides in Superintendent's Region 1 and is in the early stages of recovery from substance abuse disorder or dependency, and for the purpose of providing such students with the academic, emotional, and social support necessary to make progress towards earning their high school diploma and reintegrating into a traditional high school setting. It reported out of subcommittee on a vote of 5-0, and I so move.
This bill has been requested by Finance. It has been moved and properly seconded that the bill be reported and referred to Finance. All in favor or opposed, please designate electronically.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
Yeas 15, nays 0, the bill is reported. Senator Hashmi?
House Bill 999, patroned by Delegate Bell, requires each school board policies on the possession and administration of epinephrine in every school in the local school division to require that at least one school nurse, employee of the school board, employee of a local governing body, or employee of a local health department who is authorized by a prescriber and trained in the administration of epinephrine has the means to access at all times during regular school hours any such epinephrine that is stored in a locked or otherwise generally inaccessible container or area. This reported out of our committee. We recommended reporting on a vote of 5-0, and I so move.
It has been moved and second that House Bill 999 be reported. All in favor or opposed, designate electronically. Madam Clerk?
Yeas 15, nays 0.
Yeas 15, nays 0, the bill is reported. Senator Hashmi?
House Bill 1073, patroned by Delegate Corey, requires each school board to annually provide parents of pupils in grades K through 12 information regarding the health dangers of tobacco and nicotine vapor products. It requires that the information be provided is consistent with the guidelines set forth by the DOE. We recommend reporting on a vote of 5-0, and I so move.
It has been moved and second that the bill be reported. All in favor or opposed, vote electronically.
Yeas 14, nays 1.
Yeas 14, nays 1, the bill is reported. Senator Hashmi?
House Bill 1208, patroned by Delegate Tran, requires that each school board that provides for the transportation of students and that has established a rule, regulation, or policy to exclude certain students who reside within a certain distance from the school at which they are enrolled from accessing such transportation, to establish a process for waiving on a case-by-case and space-available basis such exclusion and providing transportation to any such student whose parent is unable to provide adequate transportation for his or her child to attend school because the parent is providing necessary medical care to another family member. We recommend reporting on a vote of 5-0, and I so move.
Madam Chair.
Senator Peterson?
And I think at some point, somebody needs to make a comment. You know, every bill we put in, we got to put in the state code. And that's got to be published. And people have to buy it every year. And not every life situation needs to be put in the state code. At some point, we got to show some restraint in everybody wanting to put every single life situation known to man into the state code. I've said enough.
Madam Chair,
Madam
Senator
Chair.
Peak, are you in queue?
I am now, I hope.
No,
I could not agree more with what Senator Peterson just said, and as you've seen a lot of these votes, I try and abstain. Even though I abstain on 50% of them, we're adding 50 things to the school board, to the schools. Eventually, there's not going to be enough room to print all this stuff. Thank you.
This bill has been requested by finance, so, after recommendation, the bill will be referred to finance. And, if I understand, Senator Sasslaw, did you want to add a clause?
Well, they'll do it in finance.
Okay, I just heard you in my ear, so I just thought maybe. Senator Hoshman has a motion, it's been seconded that the bill be reported and referred to finance. All in favor, please designate electronically. Madam Clerk? Madam Clerk?
Yeas 13, nays 1, abstentions 1.
Yeas 13, nays 1, abstentions 1. The bill is reported. Senator Hoshman.
House Bill 1336, patroned by Delegate Keem, requires that the Board of Education, in conducting its regular review and revision of the standards of learning and curriculum guidelines for family life education, to consult relevant stakeholders to ensure that revisions also reflect contemporary community standards. The bill requires that the next such review and revision be completed no later than June 30th of 2021, and it requires that each school board conduct a review of its family life education curricula at least once every 7 years. This bill was recommended for reporting on a vote of 5-0, and I so move.
The bill has been recommended for reporting, and it has been requested by finance, so the bill will be referred to finance. All in favor or nay, please vote electronically.
Yeas 13, nays 2.
Yeas 13, nays 2, the bill is reported. Senator Hoshman?
House Bill 1344, patroned by Delegate Askew, provides that when adopting regulations regarding the issuance of written reprimands of teachers and other school personnel that are required to hold a license, that the Board of Education establish such regulations, the grounds for such written reprimands, and provides that for a teacher who breaches his contract, the local Board of Education or division superintendent, in addition to the written reprimand or revocation of the teacher's license, may issue a suspension of the teacher's license. This bill reported out of committee on a vote of 5-0, and I so move.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be reported. All in favor or opposed, vote electronically.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
Yeas 15, nays 0, the bill is reported. Senator Hoshman.
House Bill 1394, patroned by Delegate Lefwich, has an amendment. It is a simple amendment that on line 16, after the word portal, that we insert the word and. I move the amendment.
It's been moved and second that the amendment be adopted. All in favor, please say aye or nay. The amendment is adopted. Senator Hoshman.
This bill requires that each local school board that offers a family life education program to post for public viewing on the local school division's official website a summary of that program, and on the official website or a parental portal, a complete copy of all printed family life education program materials that are not subject to copyright protection, and a description of all family life education program audio-visual materials. This bill was recommended with the amendment on a vote of 3-1 with 1 abstention, and I move, I recommend reporting.
The bill is being recommended for reporting as amended. All in favor? Senator Locke is in queue. Please strike the board. My queue screen is a little slow popping up. Senator Locke.
Madam Chair, I had a question with regard to.
You're on now.
I had a question with regard to posting information on the website with regard to family life, I believe certainly in transparency. And I don't have a problem with posting it on the parental portal and posting absolutely everything with regard to family life education. But I think what this opens up is a lot of trolling about what should be taught in family life education. And what's going to happen is folks starting to ask questions about what's being taught in family life education and questioning what's being taught in family life education and telling teachers and administrators what they should not be teaching in family life education. So I don't think that there's a problem with putting it in a parental portal, but I just have a problem with it being open up on official websites.
Thank you, Senator Locke. Any other member of the committee? Senator Howell?
I just wanted to ditto Senator Locke's comments. I think it's very important that the parents have access, but I think what will happen, and we will have people who are basically professional protesters against family life education intervening in every opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Howell. Any other member of the committee choose to speak? You've heard the motion with the amendment coming from the subcommittee chair. All in favor of that motion, please so designate electronically. Madam Clerk?
I'm a yes,
Yeas 11, nays 3.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeas 11, nays 3, the bill is reported.
Thank you.
Senator Hashmi.
House Bill 1469, patroned by Delegate Goditis, requires that the Board of Education extend for at least one additional year, but for no more than 2 additional years, the 3-year provisional license of a teacher employed in an accredited private elementary or secondary school or a school for students with disabilities that is licensed by the board upon receiving from the school administrator a recommendation for this extension and a satisfactory performance evaluations for such teachers for each year of the original 3-year provisional license. This bill was recommended for reporting on a vote of 5-0, and I so move.
There is a motion and a second that the bill be reported. All in favor, please designate electronically.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
Yeas 15, nays 0, the bill is reported. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Senator Hashmi.
House Bill 1491, patroned by Delegate Guy, requires that each public high school provide to any enrolled student who is of voting age or otherwise eligible to register to vote access to the Virginia voter registration information and applications and the opportunity to complete such application during the normal course of the school day. This was recommended for reporting on a vote of 5-0, and I so move.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be reported. All in favor, designate your yea or nay electronically.
Yeas 10, nays 5.
Yeas 10, nays 5, the bill is reported. Senator Hashmi.
House Bill 1557, patroned by Delegate Fowler, eliminates the annual salary limits for appointed school board members and permits any appointed school board to pay each of its members an annual salary that is consistent with the salary procedures and no more than the salary limits provided for local governments. This bill was recommended. I'm sorry. The motion to recommend reporting failed in our subcommittee on a vote of 2-3, and I so move.
Delegate Fowler, I see you there, so I assume that you would like to speak to your bill.
Yes, ma'am.
Go right ahead.
Madam Speaker, Again, in Virginia, as we are all painfully aware, we have two types of school boards, elected or appointed, and therefore we have two separate methods of compensation for those school boards. One of my localities, Hanover County, which has an appointed school board, was seeking an improvement over the current compensation process for appointed school boards. After looking at some options, we concluded that the best option, the most seamless option, would just include the appointed school boards into the same section as the elected school boards, and it would have just the one process. So basically, House Bill 1557 eliminates the annual salary limits for appointed school board members and permits any appointed school board to pay each of its members annual salary that's consistent with the salary limits for local governments and 15.2, which again is the exact same process for elected school boards. And of course, we added an enactment clause onto the bill, which makes clear that nothing in this act should be construed to reduce the maximum salaries already in place for elected school boards. Madam Chairman, members of the committee, you know, we had conversations with VACO, VML, School Boards Association. They were all supportive of the bill. And so I was a little bit surprised when we came out with the result we did in the subcommittee. So, but again, but that's essentially the bill, and I'd be happy to answer any questions any members might have.
You're going to have a lot of them. We'll start with Senator Howell.
Yes, ma'am.
She's out of queue. Senator Donovan.
Yes, Madam Chairman, thank you so much. I just want to address something that Senator Peterson said earlier. There are 30 different salaries listed in this part of the code. And if we give a process by which school boards, or excuse me, Board of Supervisors can address this for appointed school boards, it decreases the number of times we have to vote on every single salary increase for a locality that has an appointed school board. It's within the constraints of the way the elected school boards have to be salaried and practice. There are limits on it, and the Board of Supervisors in each district is ultimately responsible to the voters. I think this is a good bill, Madam Chairman, and I would like to offer a substitute motion that we report the bill out.
Senator Donovan, we have other speakers in queue. Senator Peterson?
Yeah, and this actually raised a question. I didn't realize we had removed the caps on elected school boards. Maybe I wasn't around for that session. Right now, how do we control the salaries on elected school boards? Do they get that authority through the Board of Supervisors? I thought we controlled that authority.
I'm going back to look at the bill, actually, but it's basically the process. It says that on the bill, it says.
Well, Madam Chair, if I might, while
Senator Peterson?
we've typically followed a procedure in this state under our state constitutions that elected officials don't set their own salaries. And that's one of the reasons why we can't set our own salary. We can only set salary for a future assembly. But go ahead.
It says right now that the annual salary, they'd be allowed to have the same consideration as any annual salary that is consistent with the salary procedures and no more than the salary limits provided for local governments in Article 1.1 in Code Section 15.2-1414.1. So it's there is in the code what salary limits are. It's set out for local governments.
Okay, I'm not sure I understood that answer.
Senator Peterson?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Senator Locke and then Senator Peake.
Mm-hmm. Madam Chairman, can somebody speak to about the actions?
I want to finish with the members of the committee who have questions first. Senator Locke.
I would just like to ask the delegate, why did the NAACP speak in opposition to your legislation?
Well, to respond to Senator Locke's question, they, some friends from the NAACP in Hanover came and spoke about this bill. However, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think they ever raised any questions about the underlying policy contained into this bill. They came and had a few complaints about some decisions that Hanover School Board had made, but that was totally unrelated to the policy here. Now, if y'all would like to have a discussion about Hanover County Public Schools, I'm more than willing to talk about that. But that was, again, and folks, witnesses can come and talk to, and testify to various bills. But again, I can't recall them saying anything about this underlying policy that we're requesting here.
Senator Locke, can you enlighten us?
I mean, it wasn't only the NAACP. There was another witness that came and spoke out in opposition to this request in terms of not only salary issues, but other issues relative to Hanover counties and its appointed school board.
Senator Peake, Senator Donovan.
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. First, a question, just to make sure, question to the patron. Right now, as the law stands, if any county with an appointed school board wants to increase their salary, they have to come before us and get permission. Is that correct?
Senator Peake, that would be correct.
And under,
Senator Peake.
Madam Chair, and under this bill, we give it all to the Board of Supervisors. If they want to raise it to whatever, they don't have to come in front of us anymore and they can do it?
That would be correct.
All right, thank you. Then, Madam Chair, if I could, and to speak on Senator Locke's, I was present to fill you in a little more on the NAACP. Gentleman who spoke, I think he had serious concerns about the school board that was appointed in Hanover County. I don't think he liked the way they have been conducting themselves, and he felt, and I asked Senator Locke or Senator Hashmi to correct, they were there, or Donovan, that this was a way for them to reward their buddies who they had appointed onto the school board and that didn't necessarily deserve the salary increase or something to that effect based on the way they've been conducting themselves. And I don't know anything about the deal with Hanover particularly, but I know we already voted one county this year. They came in front of us to raise their school board pay. And it just seems like this is something that we should not require every county to come in front of us every time they want to adjust pay for school board members.
Madam Chairman.
I need to finish with my committee first, Senator Donovan.
Thank you. I was just going to follow up on Senator Peterson's question. I've checked that part of the Code of Virginia, and there does not seem to be a number cap on elected school board salaries. It would appear that they're able to be set by the Board of Supervisors within a list of constraints. So I just wanted to follow up for Senator Peterson.
If there are no further questions from members of the committee, Delegate Fowler, if you can wrap it up, I want to go back to Senator Highsmith's motion.
Finally, Madam Speaker, again, Hanover County currently is not seeking a salary increase for its school board. They just wanted to have this change in policy. So again, they haven't said anything to me about an increase in salary. So just set the record straight on that front. So thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Senator Highsmith, could you renew your motion?
Am I correct that Senator Donovan had a counter motion to the motion?
I have nobody else in queue.
Yeah, Madam Chairman, I did have a substitute motion, which was to report the bill. And if I can follow up on one additional item we haven't discussed in this committee, that is that the way the language is currently in the code, the Hanover Board of Supervisors can never increase their salary because they have to have all of the appointees appointed at the same time or in a staggered rate, and maybe the delegate can speak to that. But the way the language is, they can't ever come forward and request an increase because of the staggering and the way the language is in the code. So, Madam Chairman, I would move that we report this bill.
You've heard a substitute motion?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the substitute motion, report your yea or nay electronically. You got to say so long. Madam Clerk?
Yeas 8, nays 7.
Yeas 8, nays 7. The bill is reported.
Madam Chairman, thank you. Thank you, members of the committee.
Senator Hashmi? Yes, that Delegate Fowler, I'm sorry, I needed to make one additional statement with that. The Senate Finance did request this bill, so it will be referred to Finance.
Yes, Madam Chairman, thank you.
You're welcome. Senator Hashmi?
Thank you, Madam Chair. HB 1613 is our next bill, patroned by Delegate Brewer. And this bill requires that the Board of Education, pursuant to regulation, permit any individual who seeks a technical professional license to substitute the successful completion of an intensive job-embedded 3-year program of professional development for the 9 semester hours of professional studies that were required for such a license. This we recommended reporting on a vote of 5-0, and I so move.
You've heard the motion? And a second, that the bill be reported. All in favor, so designate your yea or nay electronically.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
Yeas 15, nays 0, the bill is reported. Senator Hashmi?
Our final bill, House Bill 1630, patroned by Delegate Kilgore, permits any school board or division superintendent to extend from 3 months to 6 months the period within which the provisional license of an individual seeking initial teacher licensure who has not yet completed the professional assessments will expire for the purpose of establishing such individual's eligibility for their initial licensure, provided that such an individual has received a satisfactory mid-year performance review in the current school year and also meets all other eligibility criteria. We recommend reporting on a vote of 5-0, and I so move.
It's been moved and second that the bill be reported. Please designate yea or nay electronically.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
Yeas 15, nays 0, the bill is reported. Thank you, Senator Heisman, for that extensive report this morning.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Next subcommittee is the Health Professions Subcommittees. Senator Barker.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Use the microphone. I'm not sure the microphone's working, so I'll try to speak loudly. So, actually, we did a lot of bills in the Health Professions Subcommittee. In every case except for one, we were able to reach consensus on things and recommend reporting of the bills. So it should be fairly quick through here. House Bill 42's first bill. It's from Delegate Samira. It's just providing information related to prenatal and postpartum depression to individuals who are physicians, et cetera, that would need this. There was an amendment made to reduce the amount of time to have this but done, I think it's over 2 years rather than 5 years period of time. And I would move the amendment be adopted and report.
You've heard a motion on the amendment. I need a voice vote.
Aye.
The amendment is adopted.
All right, and with that, I move that we report the bill with that amendment.
Madam Chair, just briefly.
Senator Newman.
As always, Senator Barker accurately displayed it. I'm going to vote no. The bill, we made it a little better, but it basically says the Department of Health Professions have to send an email to doctors reminding them about postpartum depression. And I mean, sometimes no bill's too small, but this is getting very small. So, Madam Chair, that's just why I'm voting.
Senator Barker, you did have a motion?
My motion is to report with the amendment.
It's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported as amended. All in favor, designate electronically your yea or nay.
Yeas 10, nays 5.
Yeas 10, nays 5, the bill is reported. Senator Barker.
All right, next is House Bill 385. This was the bill that Delegate Sickles was talking about chiropractors there. What it does is basically provides opportunity for chiropractors.
That bill has already been.
Okay, that bill's been done with.
That's
okay,
already passed.
All right, and then we do have the one which there was a divided vote, House Bill 552 by Delegate Watts, and it deals with the definition of birth control. It was recommended for reporting on a 4-3 vote.
Good morning, Delegate Watts.
I have something to hand out to the committee. The bill before you is an very simply worded bill that is for the sake, for purposes of 18.2, the criminal code, that abortion will not include birth control. The handout before you addresses two questions that came up before the subcommittee. What possible sections of 18.2 might be covered by this bill? And of the 11 sections under the title on abortion, 4 of them dealing in first trimester could definitely be covered under a criminalization of birth control. The reason for that, as the rest of the handout shows, is that the FDA-approved birth control, which comes directly off the current website, includes a number of means of birth control that would keep a fertilized egg from implanting. So there is a difference between those who believe that life begins at the moment of fertilization and that anything that keeps that from implanting in the 10 days or so into the womb would be an abortion. Whereas the FDA-approved methods include those methods that keep that fertilized egg from implanting, and therefore the bill before you addresses that issue so that at no time during the first trimester, since that covers that first 10 days, 2 weeks, would birth control not be legal. I also have included on the handout on the very end of the last page the Mayo Clinic's discussion of RU 486, since this is not part of the FDA-approved birth control, and I wanted to make sure that that was clarified, that that would not be covered under the bill before you, but only those that are FDA-approved.
Questions of the Speaker?
Madam Chair.
Senator Newman?
Madam Chair, we did have a good discussion, and the delegate came prepared as always, so you did a great job. And the problem I have is that we're basically turning this decision really over to the FDA. The delegate and I are going to agree on some things that not everybody's going to agree on. I believe that emergency contraception delays or eliminates ovulation. We should support it because it gets rid of abortions, right? So there's others that don't agree with me on that. But I just don't think that turning this over to the FDA is probably the best way for us to do it. So, Madam Chair, the gentlelady did provide a lot of information. We're grateful, but turning it over to their determination seems like a bit much to me.
Senator Donovan and then Senator Edwards.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I would simply say that this bill seeks to solve a problem that doesn't exist. There hasn't been any problem with access to birth control. In fact, it's covered at 100% by the federal government and the laws that have been passed with the Affordable Care Act. I would say that the intent as expressed by the delegate was to make sure that birth control could never be made illegal, as I understand it. And I think she could achieve that without including the line that starts with shall on line 22 for the rest of the line. She simply can say that birth control is included in this list as listed by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, Madam Chairman. And I think that this is an unnecessary bill that is speaking to things other than the intent, and I will not be able to support it.
Senator Edwards?
Madam Chairman, all this bill does is simply say that whatever's been approved by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration cannot be considered illegal. That's all it does. It cannot be considered criminal. That's all it does. It's very simple.
Madam Chairman, follow up?
Senator Donovan?
I would support that bill if that's all that this bill said, but that's not all that it says.
Senator Hashmi?
I just want to speak in support of the bill. I think this is a necessary measure for us to take to define birth control and to separate it from the consideration of abortion. We've seen in other states an attempt to make birth control illegal, and there are attempting to do so by putting it in the same category of abortion. I think if we're going to move forward as a Commonwealth, we want to make sure that we are protecting and safeguarding the rights of women to have access to birth control effectively.
Delegate Watts, we'll let you have the last word, and then we'll go back to the subcommittee chair.
I appreciate the comments that I have heard. And I think I will end by just saying, as I started out in subcommittee, this history of this bill goes back to 2003. Senator Mary Margaret Whipple just caught me the other day. And on behalf of Senator Mary Margaret Whipple and the long line of women who have carried this bill, I hope that we are able to, the committee will act favorably.
Senator Barker, you did have a motion, and there was a second. There's a motion and a second that the bill be reported. All in favor, vote your yea or nay electronically. Madam Clerk?
Yeas 9, nays 6.
Yeas 9, nays 6. The bill is reported.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of the committee.
Senator Barker?
Madam Chair, the next bill is 687 from Delegate Aird. I recommend for reporting on a vote of 7-0. It will need to go to Finance and Appropriations Committee. This deals with doulas and basically says that you can't classify yourself publicly as a state certified doula unless you've met the criteria that are established as well. You can step forward in terms of being doulas.
Senator Barker, for the benefit of Senator Saslaw, could you please tell him what a doula is?
He's been around a while. I thought it would actually come by now. But anyway, the doula is someone who is not a medical professional, but works with a woman who is pregnant during her pregnancy and up to the delivery period.
Now he's going to have more stories to tell us. Senator Hashmi.
So I would move that we report the bill and we refer to Finance.
It has been moved and seconded that the bill be reported and referred to Finance. All in favor of that motion, please designate it electronically. Madam Clerk?
No, Peke's got it. He's not here. It's okay.
Yeas 13, nays 0.
Yeas 13, nays 0. The bill is reported. Senator Barker.
Yes, next bill we have is House Bill 688, and also from Delegate Aird. This also was recommended unanimously for reporting. Deals with community health workers. Basically, this category of professionals would be, if they meet the criteria that are established in the bill, would be able to use the title Certified Community Health Worker. And I would make a motion to report that.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be reported. All in favor, please designate electronically your yea or your nay.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
Yeas 15, nays 0. The bill is reported. Senator Barker.
Next bill is House Bill 860 from Delegate Bell. It deals with the use of inhaled asthma medication and administration of that. This is one of two bills that are actually identical. We recommend it unanimously for report.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be reported. All in favor of reporting? Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Yeas 15, nays 0.
Yeas 15, nays 0. The bill is reported. Senator Barker.
Next bill is House Bill 1000. And this is also unanimously recommended for reporting on 7-0 vote. It deals with prescription drugs. Basically says that where a partner is someone who has a particular issue, that the partner of the individual has a particular issue can receive certain drugs without having a specific technical. And this is reporting on 7-0 vote, and I will be reporting on.
It's been moved and second that the bill be reported. All of in favor, designate electronically, yea or nay. Can you all hear Senator Barker in the audience? Senator Barker, I think we may need to get your mic turned up.
Was the mic?
Yeas 15, nay 0.
Yeas
I don't
15,
think
nay
is the
0.
microphone working? Oh, now it is, okay, all right. Earlier it wasn't working, but, all right. All right, next bill is House Bill 1084 by Delegate Hayes. Deals with licensure for surgical assistants. Actually, I carried legislation a few years ago to sort of set up a first step in the process towards licensure. It's been recommended by the Board of Health Professions, which did a study on it, and Delegate Hayes is carrying that bill this year. So with this was also recommended for reporting on a 7-0 vote, and I would move that the bill be reported.
It's been moved and second that the bill be reported. All in favor, designate electronically, yea or nay. Madam Clerk?
Yeas 15, nay 0.
Yeas 15, nays 0. The bill is reported. Senator Barker.
Next bill is House Bill 1174, patronage Delegate Lopez. This is the identical bill to what Delegate Bell had, and it was recommended reporting with a substitute on a 7-0 vote.
Can I get a motion on the substitute? It's been moved and seconded that the substitute be adopted. All in favor, designate by voice vote. Aye. It has been moved and, Senator Barker?
Yes, I move that we recommend reporting with the substitute.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded that the bill be recommended reporting with the substitute. All in favor, designate electronically. Madam Clerk?
Yeas 15, nay 0.
Yeas 15, nays 0. The bill is reported. Senator Barker.
Madam Chair, the next bill is House Bill 1260 from Delegate Hodges. This was recommended reporting on a 5-0 vote. Basically, what it does is deals with athletic training and the advisory board for that. There is already on the books an advisory board for athletic training, and this says that there should be one athletic trainer who's been certified through the process on that board. And I would move that the bill be reported.
It has been moved and seconded that the bill be reported. All in favor, designate yea or nay electronically. Madam Clerk.
Yeas 15, nay 0.
Yeas 15, nays 0. The bill is reported. Senator Barker.
All right, next one is House Bill 1261, also from Delegate Hodges, and also dealing with athletic trainers. What it does is it authorizes licensed athletic trainers to possess and administer naloxone or other opioid reversal drugs. And it was recommended for reporting on a 5-0 vote, so I move that we report the bill.
It's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported. All in favor, designate electronically, yea or nay.
Yeas 15, nay 0.
Yeas 15, nays 0. The bill is reported. Senator Barker.
Next to last bill is House Bill 1332 from Delegate Kilgore. This deals with telehealth services, and it has a number of different features in the bill. We've done a lot of work on this over the years, and this is just taking a next step on things. It is a bill that has been requested by the Finance and Appropriations Committee, and so I would move that we report the bill and re-refer to Finance and Appropriations.
It is moved and second with a smile from the Chair of Finance that the bill be reported and referred to Finance. All in favor or nay, report electronically. Madam Clerk.
Yeas 15, nay 0.
Yeas 15, nays 0. The bill is reported. Senator Barker, you have one more bill?
One more bill, House Bill 1531 by Delegate Jenkins. This also was unanimously recommended on a 7-0 vote for moving forward. It deals with prescription drug disposal when someone has prescription drugs, no longer needs to use up the rest of the supply, and to provide information on the proper disposal methods for those medications there. And it would direct the Board of Pharmacy to enhance public awareness and to work with hospitals and clinics and others in terms of providing education to the public on disposal of those drugs. And with that, I would recommend that, I would move that we report the bill.
It has been moved and seconded House Bill 1531 be reported. All in favor of that motion?
Yeas 15, nays 0.
Yeas 15, nays 0, the bill is reported.
And that's the report from the Health Professions Subcommittee.
Senator Barker, I want to thank you for your hard work on your quite extended docket as well.
Yes.
Next, a subcommittee report will be coming from Higher Education. Senator Locke.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I begin with House Bill 103, and Delegate Lindsay is here. There was extensive discussion on House Bill 103, but there was not a subcommittee recommendation forthcoming because I think at the end there was some confusion on exactly what was being required with regard to expungement from transcripts of a student's record. Delegate Lindsay will explain further.
Okay, we'll give our attention to Delegate Lindsay.
Madam Chair, this bill, comes, at the urging of Chev. I will tell you that it was put together in also as a part of a collaborative effort that involved involved Chev, involved provosts from various other universities, and also the Sexual Advisory Committee of Chev. This bill simply says that we have a standard set out for now making notations on transcripts when persons have withdrawn from institutions where they were under some cloud for some proceeding that was ongoing. It may have been sexually untoward in nature. It may have been a violation of the university code. But there have been a series of lawsuits that have come down the pike because notations have been placed on these transcripts and persons have been vindicated or otherwise been brought in compliance with university requirements. So this, I wish I could say that I was smart enough to have come up with this idea myself, but this bill was brought to me at the request of Chev in collaboration with the schools throughout, the Title IX schools throughout the Commonwealth. And it with broad consensus from all of those schools having buy-in that this is the appropriate way to address how we get rid of the notations on transcripts. And it says that after a 3-year period, if there's been good cause shown, that the universities now can implement a policy to get these notations off of transcripts.
I'm looking for questions from members of the committee, but I don't see anybody in the queue.
I'll ask a
So,
question.
okay, so I see Senator Peterson, because I'd like to know what kind of notations we're talking about as
Yeah,
well.
and
Senator Peterson.
Delegate, I was theoretically in that subcommittee, but I don't think I was physically present when this came up. I certainly would add some questions. Right now, if there's an allegation, let's say, of sexual misconduct against a student, and they withdraw from the school before there's a formal proceeding, and I know we had this issue 5 or 6 years ago.
Absolutely.
My recollection is there's a notation placed on their transcript which essentially follows their record, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so what your bill does is say that notation will be removed, and I guess my question would be, under what specific circumstances would it be removed? If it turns out the allegation was unfounded, or they're on good behavior, or what criteria, or is it just automatic removal?
No, it's not automatically removed, and the criteria is established by the universities for in instances where there's been good cause shown that it should be removed. In many instances, the lawsuits have followed where there have been situations where people actually got exonerated.
Right.
And there was no way, there was no process that would allow for the removal. This is akin to, if you would, like just a clearing of the record for circumstances such as what we have with expungement.
Right, and a further question, Madam Chair. And
Senator Peterson.
You and I are both practiced law, and we're familiar with an expungement. If a client's alleged to have committed a criminal act, it turns out the case is either null prost or they're acquitted, then you get you have an expungement. It would be akin to that process?
Yes.
All right.
Senator Hashmi and then Senator Peake.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would just ask the delegate to talk me through this process. If we have a student who has been found guilty, particularly of sexual assault, and has not had any recurrence that we might know of in a similar situation, and 3 years have passed, If we're going to automatically expunge on that basis, and the student has transferred or moved to other institutions, by what measure are we going to protect other students who may be coming into contact with an individual who has in fact committed acts of sexual assault or violence against his peers within an institution?
Madam Chair, Senator Hashmi, if that were the circumstance of this bill, I would not be here presenting it because I would be opposed to that bill and I would expect you to vote against it. This is a situation where if individuals have had an allegation lodged against them, have had the opportunity to go through the processes and been vindicated, exonerated of the allegations, that it should not be a situation that they and their lives are blemished by the allegation, which was not substantiated in the end.
Okay. Okay. We have one more speaker, Senator Peake.
Madam Chair, this may be a question for the patron or one of the other folks here for the universities, but I know because they talk about leaving, but in my practice, representing people who've been charged with simple marijuana possession, the school actually kicks them out. And that's not Liberty University, but the University of Lynchburg, formerly Lynchburg College. If they are charged with simple possession of marijuana, they are removed for that semester. And I suspect that if any of these schools, if a student is charged with a sexual assault crime, I bet they are removed. Are they not all removed? Well, some schools they may be, at the tech they're not. But some, they are removed pending the criminal case. And so that is why they may leave, or they may leave for whatever reason, and then the criminal charge is dismissed. So, and is that what this attempts to address, Delegate Lindsay?
In situations where there's been a separation from the school, under a cloud, and then ultimately it's been determined that it was not substantiated, this clears that person's record.
Or they've been rehabilitated.
Yes, and that's the other opportunity.
Thank you, Delegate.
Since we didn't have a recommendation coming from the Committee on Higher Education, I will entertain speakers, and because we are just barely, 2/3 of the way through this calendar, I'll give 3 minutes to each side. And so those who are in favor, if you could please line up first. And let me see, how many speakers behind the poll? And let's see, it's 3 on one side, 4 on one side. Okay, I'll extend to 5 minutes each side. And at 5 minutes, clock and the camera goes off. Start timer.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Ashley Lockhart. I'm with the State Council of Higher Education for Virginia. I wanted to let you know that Chev's Sexual Violence Advisory Committee appreciated the opportunity to work with the patron on this legislation. That advisory committee is made up of Title IX coordinators, chiefs of police, deans of students, compliance officers from all of the Commonwealth's public and private institutions of education in the Commonwealth. This was a specific recommendation from that committee to bring this about, and we appreciate the patron's work. Thanks.
Madam Chair, Elizabeth Hooper with Virginia Tech. I've got Dr. Ellen Plummer with me. I asked her to come up from Blacksburg today. She was a part of the Sexual Assault and Violence Advisory Committee with Chev that actually worked on the legislation, brought it to the patron, and I just asked her to be here today in case you all had any specific questions as to how this would be implemented and what it would actually mean when it was operationalized at the institutions, specifically at Virginia Tech. But I think she's worked closely with enough of her counterparts across the Commonwealth that she could probably help explain at other institutions as well. So,
well, thank you. We need enlightenment.
Good morning. Thank you so
morning.
much. My name is Ellen Plummer. I work at Virginia Tech, and it's been my distinct honor to work on legislation for many years here. And we're asking that the institutions be given the opportunity to extend to individuals who have been suspended the due process that is currently available to students who are on campus. So, bear with me. If a student is suspended from having and is given sanctions, In the way the code currently reads, that student returns to campus, is able to satisfy the sanctions of their suspension, and gets back in good standing with the institution. And all is well. And that's already provided for here in the code under Section C. What we're looking for is an opportunity to create a policy that would allow an individual who chooses not, who has been suspended, but goes elsewhere and wants and does great and is in good standing at their next institution, et cetera, if they would like to make an appeal to us to be able to expunge or take off that notation, because the student who goes elsewhere doesn't have the opportunity to come back under our student code of conduct to be able to reconcile themselves with the institution. How'd that do?
Madam Chair,
Senator,
Peterson, I'm sorry, I didn't do Q.
right, because in Q I have Edwards first.
My bad.
Good morning, sir.
You're bad? Okay.
Senator Edwards.
You're not kidding, no. The question is expungement. When does expungement kick in? At what point is the student's record expunged?
Only if they request it, and only if the institution accepts their appeal, their request for expungement.
What are the standards for expungement?
We would come up with those consistent with each institution's student code of conduct.
So somebody, Madam Chair, somebody could be sanctioned, whether leaving or not leaving, and then ask, after they comply with the sanctions, that their record be expunged?
They could, and each institution, the public institutions in particular, would be able to establish the criteria under which that would occur. So among those criteria would be the original sanctions that were issued to that student when they were found responsible for violating the student conduct code.
So, Madam Chair, so this would not be only those where they were found not guilty, for lack of a better word. So it wouldn't be in that category.
If the student is found not responsible, there's no transcript notation. That's
Okay.
true today.
Okay, all right, thanks. All right.
Senator Peterson and then Senator Hashmi.
Madam Chair, I think if I could summarize this, and I've read the whole code section, under 23.1-900C, there's a process to already do that for students that stay in the institution.
Yes, sir.
This is for those students that chose to drop out, which, let's face it, a type of allegation like that may be your best option. And so this allows them, once they've dropped out, to just opt back into this subsection C.
Correct. Assume with a process. Each institution would establish a process that says, hang on, we're not expunging your transcript until you satisfy all these criteria.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is that we've already got this process in place for those who stayed within the institution.
Yes, sir, we do.
Got it. Thank you.
Senator Hashmi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would just ask the question, in establishing this process for expungement, would the victim or victims of the initial assault have an opportunity to also address this concern? My particular issue with the language that's being recommended is that it is generally vague. It doesn't address the issues of the victim or the survivors of the attack. And it also seems to me that it's drawn to protect the institution. Oftentimes, institutions seek to protect their credibility, their name brand. My focus is on the victims of the assault. What are we doing to protect the victims in this situation?
Madam Chair, and I intentionally stepped back in because I should probably address this.
And you
One of
have
the things-
31 seconds left on the clock.
And I'm going to do it in 15 to 20. The mistake that any of us would make is to assume that this is simply about survivors, of sexual assault or untoward nature, untoward acts. It's not. This is a more broader expungement. Usually, in situations where there is a survivor, that in more times than not, it also means that there was some finding. And if there's a finding, that person won't fall into this category. This is for those situations where there's an exoneration or a situation where there's some sanction and that certainly wouldn't be a sanctionable situation, where there's been some sanction and they've been brought themselves in terms of conduct into compliance.
Thank you, Delegate Lindsay.
Sorry.
I'm going to hear from the opposition, so if you would line up.
If you mean all of those university advocates, they're here in support of the bill. Yeah,
So is there any opposition to the bill?
not that I'm aware of, Madam Chair.
Okay, so we didn't have a recommendation coming out of the subcommittee, so perhaps we can get a motion from there is a motion to report and second. All in favor of the motion designated electronically, yea or nay?
Yeas 13, nays 1, abstentions 1.
Can you switch me to a no?
Yeas 13, nays 1, abstention 1. Delegate Lindsay, the bill is reported.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're very welcome.
Madam
Okay, continuing. Sit down.
I've got the next bill.
She wants you to have a seat so she can call you back up. Senator Locke.
Next, we had House Bill 104 from Delegate Lindsay, which requires each public institution of higher education, with the exception of VMI, to adopt non-academic student codes of conduct, and it outlines what that would be. And the committee recommends reporting on a vote of 5-0, and I so move.
It's been moved and properly second that House Bill 104 be reported. All in favor of that motion, designated electronically. Madam Clerk?
Yeas 14, nays 0, abstentions 1.
I mean, yes.
Yeas 14, nays 0, abstention 1. The bill is reported. Delegate Lindsay.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're
Thank
very
you,
welcome.
members of the committee.
Okay,
Senator Locke.
Next, we had House Bill 375 from Delegate Willett, and there are amendments, and I move the amendments.
It's been moved and second that the amendments be adopted. All in favor? Voice vote of aye or nay? Aye. Senator Locke.
Okay, House Bill 375 prohibits any post-secondary school that is required to be certified by SHEV from conditioning the enrollment of a student who receives state funds from entering into an agreement that requires a student to arbitrate, and Senator Peterson doesn't like arbitrate, in a dispute between the student and the school, and it requires any student to submit to arbitration to resolve disputes with the school, and it also asks that a report that the school reports each student dispute to the council before the arbitration proceeding is initiated. Also to report to the council certain information about each arbitration proceeding that results from a student dispute, including the nature of the dispute, any defense or counterclaim by the school, and the disposition of the dispute, and so forth. On a recommendation of 3-0, it was recommended for reporting, and I so move.
Madam Chair,
Senator Peterson.
there was a fairly substantial amendment that was made, and I don't know if that's going to be reported or.
We've adopted the amendments.
The amendment
Oh,
was
it's already
adopted.
in there. All right. And I'll speak to that. I thought this was a great bill. As I think I said earlier in a different context, my two least favorite words in the world are arbitration and mandatory. And schools that use mandatory arbitration to settle disputes, particularly where they force a student to fly 1,000 miles to Rochester or Minneapolis or what have you, that we can't have those type of consumer practices in the Commonwealth by schools certified by SHEV, period, full stop. And I felt like that was a statewide policy that we should adopt, and we should not have carve-outs, and that was the point of my amendment.
Thank you, Senator Peterson. There was a motion from the subcommittee chair to report the bill as amended. All in favor of that motion, designate electronically, yea or nay.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
Yeas 15, nays 0. The bill is reported. Senator Locke.
Next, we had House Bill 447 from Delegate Murphy, which requires the condition of continuous enrollment in a public institution of higher education, a private institution of higher education currently imposed on dependents of active duty military personnel or activated or temporarily mobilized reservists or Guard members in order to be eligible for in-state tuition and other educational benefits afforded to Virginia students to be waived if the dependent verifies that a break of no longer than 1 year was required in order to support a spouse or parent in order for a change of duty assignment or location. And on a vote of 4-0, this bill was recommended for reporting, and I so move.
You've heard the motion. And a second, that the bill be reported. All in favor of reporting House Bill 447, designate electronically.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
Yeas 15, nays 0, the bill is reported. Thank you. Senator Locke.
House Bill 456, also from Delegate Murphy.
Will it substitute? Does that bill have a
Yeah,
substitute?
we have a substitute.
It's been moved and second that the substitute be adopted. All in favor, voice vote of aye or nay. Aye. The
House Bill
substitute is adopted.
456 requires each public institution of higher education to provide a refund of the tuition and mandatory fees paid by any veteran student for any course from which the student is forced to withdraw for the first time if the student suffers from any service-connected medical condition during a semester. But it has to be certified in writing to the institution by a physician licensed to practice medicine if that physician has treated the veteran for a medical condition. Again, this was recommended for reporting on a vote of 4-0, and I so move.
It has been moved and properly second that the bill be reported with the substitute. All in favor?
Yeas 15, nays 0.
Yeas 15, nays 0, the bill is reported. Senator Locke.
House Bill 457, again from Delegate Murphy, requires any degree granting post-secondary school providing distance learning to residents of the Commonwealth from a location outside of the Commonwealth to be certified to operate in the Commonwealth or be a participant in any interstate reciprocity agreement to which the Commonwealth belongs in accordance with the Council's authority under relevant law. And on a vote of 3-0, it was recommended for reporting, and I so move.
It has been moved and properly second that the bill be reported.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
Yeas 15, nays 0, the bill is reported. Senator Locke.
House Bill 715 from Delegate Reed prohibits the governing board of any public institution of higher education from approving an increase in undergraduate tuition or mandatory fees without providing students and the public notice of the date, time, and location of the meeting at least 10 days prior to the meeting. And this was recommended for reporting on a vote of 4 yeas, 0 nays, and 1 abstention. Did I move the amendments? Okay. There were amendments to this bill, and I moved the amendments.
It's been moved and properly second that the amendments be.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Senator Hashmi.
Before we vote on the amendment, I did have a request to just clarify in the second amendment on line 48.
Thank you.
Where we have the statement that communication utilized by the institution with students and parents, that we change that to with students and/or parents, with the acknowledgement that many of our students are adult learners and therefore they don't need parental notification.
Thank you for that clarification. Back to the original motion, Senator Locke.
Move the amendments.
It's been moved and second. I think we already did that for the amendments. Now, a motion on the bill.
It was recommended for reporting on a vote of 4 yeas, 0 nays, 1 abstention, so I moved that the bill be reported.
It's been moved and properly. All in favor, designate yea or nay electronically.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
Yeas 15, nays 0, the bill is reported. Senator Locke.
Next bill is House Bill 743 from Delegate Bulova. There are amendments, and I move the amendments.
The amendments have been moved. The amendments have been moved and second to be adopted. All in favor, say yea or nay. Yea? Aye? No?
Yes.
Yes. The amendments are adopted. Senator Locke.
House Bill 743 requires any provider of private student loans to disclose to any student attending an institution of higher education in the Commonwealth prior to issuing a qualified education loan to such student the contact information for the Office of the Qualified Education Loan Ombudsman, and a summary of the student loan information applicable to private student loans that may be found on the council's website. And I move that the bill be reported.
It's been moved and properly second that the bill be reported. Please designate your preference electronically. Madam Clerk?
Yeas 15, nays 0.
Yeas 15, nays 0. The bill is reported. Senator Locke.
Next is House Bill 913 from Delegate Helmer. This bill requires the governing board of each public institution of higher education and each nonprofit private institution of higher education to include as part of its policy code, rules, or set of standards governing sexual violence, a provision for immunity from disciplinary action based on personal consumption of drugs or alcohol where such disclosure is made in conjunction with a good faith report of an act of sexual violence. And this was recommended for reporting on a vote of 4 yea, 0 nay, and 1 abstention. And I so move.
Madam Chair.
It's been moved in second, but we have a comment from Senator Newman.
Madam Chairman, earlier we had an exemption for VMI as related to some of the standards. I have an amendment, Madam Chair, if the subcommittee chair would allow, that basically just says if you have a higher standard than this, which VMI does, that you would retain the discretion. I would ask the clerk, Madam Chair, to report the amendment.
Report the line amendment.
So to summarize in concept, we would include an exception for VMI to allow disciplinary action by the institution if the disclosure of the student's personal consumption of drugs or alcohol is inconsistent with commissioning standards through ROTC into the U.S. Armed Forces.
Madam Chair, I move the amendment.
Senator Newman?
Yeah, that's all. Just move the amendment.
It has been moved and second that the amendment be adopted. All in favor, please designate voice vote. Aye. Amendments adopted.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Pete, did you want to speak? Okay, Senator Peterson. You're still in queue, Senator Peterson.
No, never mind.
Okay, the recommendation, it's been moved and properly seconded that the bill be
Reported as amended.
reported as amended. All in favor or opposed, please designate electronically. Barker?
Oh, I got him, I'm sorry.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
Yeas 15, nays 0. The bill is reported. Senator Locke.
House Bill 992 from Delegate Adams declares the A.L. Philpott Manufacturing Extension Partnership a political subdivision of the Commonwealth and requires its staff to be treated as state employees for purposes of participation in the Virginia retirement system, health insurance, and all other employee benefits offered by the Commonwealth. And on a vote of 5-0, it was recommended for reporting, and I so move.
You've heard the motion and a second that House Bill 992 be recommended for reporting. All in favor or not, please vote electronically.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
Yeas 15, nays 0. The bill is reported. Senator Locke.
House Bill 1179 from Delegate Tran provides that an individual is eligible for in-state tuition charges regardless of domicile if he is admitted to the United States as a refugee within the previous 2 calendar years or received a special immigrant visa that has been granted a status within the previous 2 calendar years, and upon entering the United States, the individual resided in the Commonwealth and continues to reside in the Commonwealth as a refugee or pursuant to such special immigrant visa. And this was recommended for reporting from the subcommittee on a vote of 3 yea and 2 nay, and I so move that it be reported.
The recommendation from the subcommittee is that the bill be reported.
Madam Chair.
Senator Peterson, I'm
If I could
looking to
just-
see if there's any voices, any speakers in queue. Senator Peterson.
Yes, ma'am. Again, I sit on this subcommittee, but I was not here. This would be someone who would have been designated as a refugee?
Yes.
As opposed to someone who's claiming to be a refugee?
Correct.
Okay.
Designated.
All right, just speak to that briefly.
Senator Peterson.
Being designated a refugee is not easily, and I've handled immigration cases, and I know that that's a fairly taxing process. So this is a pretty high bar that you're going to have to jump over to qualify for this. which is why I think I think it's appropriate. So I'm speaking in support. There you go.
Senator Howell.
I spoke to Delegate Tran, and she gave me an indication of how many people this might impact, and I'm wondering if you have that number.
Sure. Thank you so much, Madam Chair and members of the committee. So just to get back to Senator Peterson's point, and then I'll address Senator Howell's question quickly. So this applies to people who have been resettled by the U.S. government as refugees or as individuals who've received a special immigrant visa. So these are individuals who've gone through an intensive background check and and gone through the resettlement process. They're individuals that have been resettled by the federal government and are essentially plopped into Virginia with no choice of their own. They don't get to choose where they go.
Real high bar.
Real high bar. And so in Virginia, when we talked to Chev about how many students this currently would affect, it was really a handful. So Andes was able to identify like between 5 to possibly 10 students. So it's a very small number, but it allows people to just really quickly, for those who are able to, go to school, have the English language abilities, have the right amounts of autonomy to do this, just really hit the ground running and be able to start their lives over more quickly.
Thank you, Delegate Tran. Senator Locke, let's see, in queue. Senator Howell, are you still in queue? No. Senator Saslaw, are you in queue?
So they have to be living in Virginia, then?
Correct.
Right.
Yes. Okay.
They're resettled here.
Right.
The recommendation coming from the subcommittee, before we move with that motion, Senator Donovan.
I'm sorry, I just am wrapping my head around this. I wanted to just follow up with Senator Peterson. When we've looked at this before, we've looked at time in the state. Is that relevant here at all?
Well, if I may respond, Madam Chair.
Senator Peterson.
We've had the very broad category of people that are here undocumented and how we treat that, and we made a policy decision that 2 years and 2 years of taxes. But this is a much narrower category. They're people that have gone through the immigration process, been resettled, and they have one of these, in this case, a visa. So you're talking about a very small subset of people that are here effectively. They're here legally. Not.
And Madam Chair,
Senator Locke.
it specifies 2 calendar years.
2 calendar years.
I didn't see that. Okay.
Well, the recommendation coming from the subcommittee is that the bill be reported. And I believe Senator Locke has already made the motion, and there's already a second. So now, all in favor or not, please designate electronically.
Thank you so much.
Madam Clerk.
Yeas 11, nays 3, abstentions 1.
Thank you.
Yeas 11, nays 3, abstentions 1. The bill is reported. Senator Locke.
Next is House Bill 1223 from Delegate Mayeris. There is a substitute, and I move the substitute.
You hear a motion on the substitute? And a second? All in favor of adopting the substitute, please do voice vote, yea or nay. Aye. The substitute is adopted. Senator Locke.
Okay, House Bill 1223 requires each public institution of higher education to release an annual report regarding foundations associated with the institution, setting forth the foundation's expenses. And this was recommended for reporting on a vote of 5-0, and I so move.
Second. It's been moved and properly second that the bill be reported with the substitute. All in favor of that motion, electronically, please.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
Yeas 15, nays 0. The bill is reported. Thank you. Senator Locke.
Next is House Bill 1226, also from Delegate Tran. It prohibits the Virginia Commonwealth University Health System Authority and the University of Virginia Medical Center from participating in debt collection efforts pursuant to the Virginia Debt Collection Act or the Set-Off Debt Collection Act unless all reasonable efforts have been made to determine the individual with delinquent debt is eligible for financial assistance. And this was recommended for reporting on a vote of 5-0, and I so move.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second that House Bill 1226 be recommended for reporting. All in favor of that motion?
Yeas 15, nays 0.
Yeas 15, nays 0. The bill is reported. Senator Locke.
House Bill 1275 from Delegate O'Quinn. There are amendments, and I move the amendment.
You've heard a motion on the amendment? And a second. All in favor, voice vote? Aye. The amendment is adopted. Senator Locke?
House Bill 1275 establishes the Veteran Student Transition Grant Fund as a special non-reverting fund in the state treasury and requires the State Council of Higher Education for Virginia to establish the Veteran Student Transition Grant Fund for the purpose of providing grants from the fund on a competitive basis to a public institution of higher education, private institution of higher education, or a group of such institutions that proposes a new and innovative program or research project relating to improving the transition of veteran students from military to higher education or from higher education to the civilian workforce. And on a recommendation of 3-0, is recommended for reporting, and I so move.
It has been moved and second that the bill be recommended for reporting with amendment. All in favor of that motion?
Yeas 15, nays 0.
Yeas 15, nays 0. The bill is reported. Senator Locke?
House Bill 1315 from Delegate Corey prohibits any student at a public institution of higher education from deemed ineligible to establish domicile and receive in-state tuition charges solely on the basis of the immigration status of his parent. And this was recommended for reporting on a vote of 3 yea, 2 nay, and I so move that it be reported.
You've heard the motion. Senator Saslaw, did you have a question?
I was just wondering, is anybody even doing this? I mean, do we know of instances where this has occurred? Yes or no?
Senator Donovan?
Just a follow-up, oh, wait, here we go.
Delegate Corey?
Yes, Senator Saslaw, I didn't quite hear what you were saying. I just knew it was a question.
Do you know of any instance where this
Yes.
has actually happened?
Yes,
Where?
I do, in my district, from William and Mary, from UVA, and from Virginia Tech. And I have letters from students who have graduated from Justice High School and experienced this situation. That's why I put the legislation in.
Okay.
Madam Chair?
Senator, I want to go by queue if you don't mind.
Oh, sure.
I have Senator Peterson and then Senator Suderline.
Well, I would ask the delegate, I mean, we've had bills, and I know you have bills, and we have bills about dealing with students that are undocumented and how we're going to treat them when they apply for in-state tuition. And of course, that goes immediately to the issue of domicile. If you're domiciled or if you're not domiciled, we may have differing positions on that. We said you had to be here a certain number of years and you had to pay Virginia taxes. So hold on a second, I haven't asked my question yet. My question is, how is this going to interact with that? Because typically,
It
if you're
doesn't. Excuse me, but Senator Peterson, it doesn't. This deals with students who are American citizens and eligible for in-state tuition, but have been denied because their parents cannot prove citizenship. And in the code, it already lists a number of ways that you can make yourself eligible for in-state tuition. But unfortunately, it's rather obscure. And even though I've worked with Chev and they have updated their high school counselor training to make it more clear to the counselors, this has persisted.
Okay, well, that may I follow up, Madam Chair?
Senator Peterson?
Most 17-year-olds don't have domicile outside of where their parents are. Now, they may be U.S. citizens, but domicile is a little different. And typically, you establish domicile where you register to vote, where you pay taxes and all of those things, and most teenagers aren't in that situation. I understand the purpose of this bill, and I think we're addressing it in other legislation. This seems to be, ma'am, you can sigh at me if you want. Maybe you didn't get these questions in the House. But we're going to question bills here.
What's the question?
The question is, how does this interact with other legislation that basically sets a standard for dealing with undocumented people or populations that are applying for in-state tuition?
Senator Peterson, it does not, because this is not an undocumented student. This is not an undocumented student who is looking for in-state tuition. This is someone who qualifies for in-state tuition according to the list of proofs that you have to provide that is already in the code. However, has been denied in-state tuition what should I say, mistakenly, because they have been asked for their parents' citizenship documents and have not been able to produce them. In the code, it lists a number of items that you can produce as a student requesting to be granted in-state tuition. And your parents' citizenship status is not sole basis for denying in-state tuition.
Yes. And Senator Suderline, are you still in queue?
I think Senator Peterson.
Okay, so your question has been answered?
I'd like
Fran, would you like to add more clarification?
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, Fran Bradford, Deputy Secretary of Education, just would like to add, and I appreciate the patron carrying this legislation, this simply codifies the SHEV domicile guidelines, so this is already contained in the guidelines approved by SHEV, having gone through the regulatory process.
Thank you so much for that clarification. I think we have a pretty good understanding now of it. I'm going to refer back to Senator Locke, Chair of the committee, subcommittee.
We recommend reporting House Bill 1315, and I so move.
It's been moved. And second, that House Bill 1315 be recommended for reporting. All in favor or not, designate electronically.
Thank you.
Yeas 9, nays 6.
Yeas 9, nays 6. The bill is reported.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
You're very welcome. Senator Locke.
House Bill 1335 from Delegate Keem changes the appointing authority of the State Council of Higher Education for Virginia Student Advisory Committee from the State Council to the Director of the Council. It also directs the Student Advisory Committee to report to the Director rather than to the Council. And a vote of 3-0, it is recommended for reporting, and I so move.
There's a motion?
Second.
And a second that the bill be reported. All in favor or not, designate electronically.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
Yeas 15, nays 0. The bill is reported. Thank you. Senator Locke.
Blessedly, the last bill is House Bill 1529 from Delegate Bulova. Requires the governing board of each public institution of higher education to establish policy for the acceptance of terms and conditions associated with any donation, gift, or other private philanthropic support. And on a recommendation of 4 yea and 1 nay, it is recommended for reporting, and I so move.
You've heard the motion? And a second that the bill be recommended for reporting. All in favor of reporting, please designate electronically. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Yeas 10, nays 5.
Yeas 10, nays 5. The bill is reported. Senator Locke.
I'm done.
I want to thank you for your hard work on that quite extensive docket. And our last subcommittee report will be coming from...
I've got it, Madam Chair. You ready for me?
From the chair of the subcommittee on health, Senator Lewis.
I've got it, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Madam Chair, our committee considered first House Bill 97, Delegate Mieri's bill, and it directed the Department of Health to review crab disease and provide recommendations.
Senator Lewis, can you turn the volume up on your microphone?
Let's see, Madam Chair, I don't know if I can or not. Let me see if I get a little closer to it. Directed the Department of Health to review crab disease and provide recommendations to the Board of Health regarding whether crab disease should be included. So it's a study to determine whether it should be included, not mandating that it be included. And so it was the recommendation of the subcommittee that the bill be reported 4-0, and I so move.
It has been moved and second that the bill be recommended for reporting. All in favor?
Yeas 15, nays 0.
Yeas 15, nays 0. The bill is reported.
Next, Madam Chair, we considered House Bill 479 by Delegate Kilgore, and this expanded the list of parties eligible to obtain a free certified copy of a veteran's death certificate for service-connected benefits to include any funeral director or funeral service licensee who provides funeral services for the veteran, the deceased veteran, if so requested by the surviving spouse of the veteran. And it was recommended reporting on a vote of 5-0, and I so move.
It has been moved and seconded that the bill be recommended for reporting. All in favor, designate electronically.
Next,
Yeas 15, nays 0.
Yeas 15, nays 0. The bill is reported.
Next, Madam
Senator
Chair.
Lewis.
Next, Madam Chair, we considered House Bill 586 by Delegate Guzman, which has a host of chemical names which I cannot begin to pronounce, but directed the Commissioner of Health to convene a work group to study the occurrence of these chemicals and as deemed necessary in the Commonwealth's public drinking water, and to develop recommendations for specific contaminant levels for them for inclusion and regulation of the Board of Health Board of Health applicable to waterworks. This was recommended reporting and referring to finance on a vote of 5-0.
You've heard the motion that the bill be recommended for approval and to be referred to finance. All in favor of that motion, designate electronically.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
Yeas 15, nays 0. The bill is reported. Senator Lewis.
Next, Madam Chair, we took up House Bill 661, which was Delegate Bell's bill, and this directed the Secretaries of Health and Human Resources and Public Safety and Homeland Security to establish a work group to develop a plan to improve the Commonwealth's response to exposure-prone incidents. The group was to develop a plan for an entity to assist with management of exposure-prone incidents involving employees of law enforcement agencies and volunteers, to study and develop recommendations related to developing the ability to perform postmortem testing for infection with human immunodeficiency, or HIV, hepatitis C, hepatitis B or C viruses through consolidated laboratories. And the work group shall report its findings to the governor and the General Assembly by December 1st, 2020. And it was the recommendation that this be reported on a vote of 5-0 with one abstention. And I so move.
It has been moved and seconded the bill be reported. All in favor or not, designate electronically.
Yeas 15, nays 0.
Yeas 15, nays 0. The bill is reported. Senator Lewis.
Madam Chair, this next bill we took up was House Bill 728 by Delegate Hope. This is a companion bill to Senator Deed's Senate Bill 734. It directs the Secretaries of Education, Health, and Human Resources to establish a work group to study the current process for approval of residential psychiatric services for children and adolescents, and requires the group to report its findings and recommendations to the Chairman of Appropriations and Senate Finance and Appropriations by December 1st, 2020. December 1st, 2020. This was recommended reporting on a vote to 5-0, and I so move.
It has been moved and second that House Bill 728 be recommended for reporting. All in favor?
Yeas 15, nays 0.
Yeas 15, nays 0. The bill is reported. Senator Lewis.
Next, we heard House Bill 763, which was Delegate Orrock's bill, requiring the Board of Health to adopt regulations requiring hospitals to establish protocols to ensure that any patient scheduled to receive an elective surgical procedure for which the patient can reasonably be expected to require outpatient physical therapy as a follow-up to the follow-up from discharge, that patient is informed that he is expected to require outpatient physical therapy as a follow-up, and will be required to select a physical therapy provider prior to being discharged from the hospital. It was the recommendation of the subcommittee that the bill be reported 5-0, and I so move.
It's been moved. Second, that the bill be reported. All in favor?
Yeas 15, nays 0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Yeas 15, nays 0. The bill is reported.
And Madam Chair, next we heard House Bill 791, Delegate Plum's bill, which repealed the sunset on the authority of the Commissioner of Health to establish and operate local or regional comprehensive harm reduction programs. That includes the distribution of sterile hypodermic needles and syringes and the disposal of needles and syringes, and allows the local health department or other organization that promotes scientifically proven methods of mitigating health risks associated with drug use and other high-risk behaviors to establish comprehensive harm reduction programs. There's a recommendation of this subcommittee that bill be reported 5-0, and I so move.
It's been moved and second that the bill be reported. All in favor?
Yeas 15, nays 0.
Yeas 15, nays 0. The bill is reported.
Next, Madam
Senator
Chair.
Lewis.
Next, Madam Chair, we took up House Bill 907, which was Delegate Hayes's bill regarding sickle cell anemia. Specifies that children be included in the voluntary program established by the Commissioner of Health in cooperation with local health directors for the screening of individuals for the disease of sickle cell anemia or the sickle cell trait, and for other genetically related diseases and genetic traits and inborn errors of metabolism. The bill directs the Board of Health to adopt regulations to implement an adult and pediatric comprehensive sickle cell clinic network. It was recommended that this bill be reported and re-referred to Finance on a 5-0 vote, and I so move.
You've heard the motion that the bill be reported and referred to Finance. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically. Thank you. Senator Lewis.
And next, Madam Chair, we took up House Bill 1090, which was Delegate Hope's bill. We took some extensive public testimony on that bill. The bill removes the specific list of minimum requirements for vaccines for school attendance and directs that the State Board of Health regulations for the immunization of school children shall be consistent with that of the Center for Disease Control, the CDC. Again, Madam Chair, we heard some extensive public input on this, and it was the recommendation of the subcommittee that bill. Oh, I'm sorry, we have an amendment on that. I'm sorry, Madam Chair. Let me move the amendment.
There's been a motion to adopt the amendment. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those nay. Ayes have it. Senator Lewis.
And Madam Chair, the amendment simply requires a report from the Commissioner of Health to the House and Senate Health Committees, and also requires a report from the Department of Health and the Department of Education after reviewing applicable code sections to report on the effectiveness of vaccines and promoting of the vaccinations and promoting public health. But it was the recommendation that the bill be reported as amended and then re-referred to Finance on a vote of 4-0 with one abstention. And I so move.
Madam Chair,
Senator Newman.
have we adopted the amendment, Madam Chair?
Yes, we did.
Madam Chair, I don't know why we're doing this, right? I mean, we have a process, and maybe we haven't updated them along, but why would we want to turn this over to the CDC on whatever they do instead of us having the ability to review them? And Madam Chair, there is another way to do it, right? I'm not opposed to any of the drugs, even the fourth one, Gardasil. But why don't we just do it the way we're doing instead of turning over our authority? Maybe the delegate can help me understand that.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
And I just want to say to Delegate Hope, we're going to hear from you, but this bill has been heard in subcommittee, so it will not be re-adjudicated here.
Yes, Madam Chairman. Madam Chair, to answer Senator Newman's question, you know, the vaccine schedule has not been updated since 2008, and I'm trying to take the politics out of this. Probably the only person qualified to make this recommendation is probably Senator Donovan. We have different jobs. We're a part-time legislature. How can we have the expertise to come back anytime, every 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, anytime a new vaccine that's been determined to save lives needs to be added to the schedule? And I'm trying to take politics out of it and leave it to the experts.
Madam Chair.
Senator Newman.
What if the CDC decides to put a drug in that's not communicable? Would that be okay? In other words, whatever they say is what we should do?
Madam Chair, you know, I'm not aware of how their expertise process, their process is, but that's not something that they would do. I know we have someone from the department that could probably answer
Madam Chair,
that question.
Madam Chair, one of the
Senator Newman.
One of the drugs is. So one of the drugs is already that way. So, Madam Chair, I mean, I know this was heard in subcommittee, but I would hope that we would do what we do when we take Schedule 1 drugs, where we also update the spice drugs, and we do that every year, right? I carry a bunch of them. You may too. We carry these and we update them, but we keep control locally. And so, I know this is going to go to Finance. Is that right, Madam Chair?
That is correct.
Then I may have a process whereby we have an opportunity to look at adding the drugs in like we should do, in my opinion, but not turning it over to CDC. I won't do it here, but I think we could probably do that on the floor or somewhere else. It would give you everything you want, all your drugs, but it also would keep control here, Madam Chair.
Senator Donovan, your name keeps popping up like a flashing light, but I have two now who've come in queue since you've gone out. So I now have Senator Peterson, Donovan, and
I will step back and let Senator Donovan speak because she's going to be a lot smarter than I am. So.
in queue, in this order. Senator Donovan, Senator Howell.
this bill that is so important to me is that the Department of Health cannot purchase and have available for those who cannot afford any vaccines that we do not list in this code. And any procedure that we follow going forward on vaccinations needs to keep Virginia on the cutting edge of making sure that we have vaccines available to everybody in Virginia to prevent communicable disease. This is the 21st century, and this is what we should be doing, and we need to make sure that people are protected from highly communicable illnesses. I'm willing to have a conversation about how we do that, but we need to make sure that we make these vaccines available going forward. And I just wanted to say that because I think it's so important.
Thank you, Senator Donovan. Senator Howell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to point out what should be obvious to everybody here in Virginia. The federal government has resources we don't have to make these determinations, and they have a very rigorous process they follow before any vaccine gets added to a list. So I think this is a very wise way to go that will protect the children of Virginia.
Senator Peterson is back in queue. Senator Sasslaw, push your button if you'd like to speak. Senator
Okay.
Peterson.
Yeah, and I usually defer to Dr. Donovan on these issues. I guess what concerns me, and I'm kind of in the Senator Newman camp about just slowing this train down, is that we have a Virginia Department of Health. We've typically listed these out in the code, and it may well be that, you know, the CDC has more information and they have resources we don't, but we have a Department of Health. What's the point in having it if we're going to just sort of cede our authority to an outside agency? So I just feel like I understand with the way this is going, but maybe we just need to slow the brakes down a bit. So
We're going to have a motion right after Senator Donovan.
So I would just counter that, Madam Chair, if the code said that the Department of Health decided that, it would be different. But the code now says we have to vote on it every year, and we have abdicated. And we have gone 12 years without adding vaccines that have been indicated to be available to the public. And Virginia needs to make a decision one way or the other. We already have in the code the policy. We require vaccines for school. We have an opt-out that allows that to happen. We need to make sure new vaccines get into the code.
Senator Sasslaw.
I move that 1090 as amended be reported.
You heard a motion and a second that
Has to go to finance, Madam Chair.
House Bill 1090 be reported and referred with amendment to Senate Finance. Please designate yea or nay electronically.
Yeah.
Yeas 9, nays 6.
Yeas 9, nays 6. The bill is reported and referred to Finance.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Lewis.
Madam Chair, and last but not least, we took up House Bill 1121, Delegate Robinson's bill regarding licensure of massage therapists. This is actually, Madam Chair, according to Delegate Robinson, a part of an anti-trafficking program, really, because there's apparently a lot of human trafficking in this area. And so that provides an applicant who completed a massage therapy educational program in a foreign country may apply for licensure as a massage therapist upon submission of evidence that the applicant is at least 18, has successfully completed a massage therapy educational program, and has passed a board-approved English language proficiency exam, and has not committed any acts or omissions that would be grounds for disciplinary or denial of licensure, and that the Board of Nursing shall issue a license to an applicant who completed the therapy educational program in a foreign country upon submission of that evidence. So it was the recommendation after hearing the testimony or the presentation of Delegate Robinson.
Senator Lewis, could you hold just 1 second because I can't hear you.
Chair.
Suspend for about 2 minutes.
Yes, ma'am.
I really want to thank you all for your orderly conduct. I appreciate that very much. Senator Lewis?
All right, Madam Chair. And so it was after hearing the presentation of Delegate Robinson, it was the motion of the recommendation of the committee that the bill be reported 5-0, and I so move.
Madam Chair.
You've heard the motion, Senator Peterson.
Madam
And
Chair.
cue Senator Peterson and Senator Suline. Senator Peterson.
Here we go again. These are things that to me should be handled at the DPOR level about what are the appropriate qualifications to be, in this case, a massage therapist. And I just feel like we're putting this into the code. It just over and over again, we're going to get into how many hours of training you need to be a massage therapist. And when do we draw the line on this? And I'm going to vote against this, not that it's a bad idea, but just, I feel like we're micromanaging every single profession. There's not going to be enough pieces of paper in the English language to do it all.
Senator Suline, I know you have a similar.
Yes, Madam Chair. I just found it peculiar that with everything else we're doing, now we're requiring one profession to pass an English proficiency test. I mean,
Madam Chair, I would point out for Delegate Suderline that the testimony or presentation for Delegate Robinson was that this was part of a human trafficking problem and it was seeking to try and undercut that issue.
but we don't require English for anything else.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Nursing does.
Okay, so nursing.
Sorry, Madam Chair.
Senator Peterson.
All right, let me.
And back to you, Senator Suline.
And I'm not oblivious to what happens with sexual trafficking. I'm not oblivious to it at all. But if somebody is in this country and they don't speak English well, and they can't pass an English proficiency exam, but maybe they work in a nail salon, maybe they work as a massage therapist, why are we not letting that person get a job?
Senator Suline, then I'm going to you, Becky. Senator Suline.
I think Senator Peterson's exactly right.
Madam Chairman, Becky Bowers, I'm there with the Virginia chapter of the American Massage Therapy Association. First of all, massage therapists are regulated by the Department of Health Professions under the Board of Nursing, and they have been since 1997 or so. They've been licensed for the last 6 years or so. And the regulations that you were talking about, the 500 hours and already, that's already in the code. What we did was change the word educational to a different part of the code. There is an advisory board on massage therapy. Because they're licensed, they have been deemed, of a profession that, if not practiced correctly, could lead to health and safety problems for the clients. The requirement for the English proficiency is really based on the fact that the examination itself is written in English. And so students have to be able to speak enough English in order to pass the exam. And so that's pretty much why we have it. Now, within the code already, there is an English proficiency requirement for registered nurses and licensed practical nurses under the same Board of Nursing. There are also regulations within the Department of Health Professions for other health professions to have them, but they're written into the administrative code, not into the Code of Virginia.
Thank you so much. Senator Lewis, I'm sorry, Senator Donovan's in queue, and then I go back to you, Senator Lewis. Senator Donovan.
And I just want to hop on the bandwagon here and say, I do wonder why, under the Board of Nursing, these regulations can't be promulgated without law. And I just think we need to ask that question. Where we have empowered, those empowered agencies should do what we need to have done and not codify every single thing repetitively.
Senator Lewis.
And it was the recommendation that it be reported 5-0, and I would renew that motion, Madam Chair.
You've heard the motion and the second, that the bill be reported. All in favor or not, designated electronically.
Yeas 9, nays 6.
Yeas 9, nays 6. The bill is reported.
And that completes my report, Madam
And
Chair.
Senator Lewis, I want to also thank you for your very hard work on this committee. And I want to thank each of the subcommittee chairs. I know we're not done yet, but today we've gotten through almost 80 bills and we're out of here on time.
You know what, I have a suggestion for next year on how to vote.
Please, great job.